Here's a list of U.S. presidents who have faced assassination attempts or were assassinated from 1835 to the present, with details about each event. 1. Andrew Jackson, 1835. Date: January 30th, 1835. Location: U.S. Capitol Building, Washington, D.C. Assailant: Richard Lawrence, an unemployed house painter. Details: Lawrence attempted to shoot Jackson with 2 pistols, both of which misfired. Jackson, enraged, attacked Lawrence with his cane until he was subdued. Lawrence claimed he was the English king Richard III and that Jackson's policies were harming him financially. 2. Abraham Lincoln, 1865. Date: April 14, 1865. Location: Ford's Theater, Washington, D.C. Assailant: John Wilkes Booth, a Confederate sympathizer and actor. Details: Lincoln was shot in the back of the head while watching a play. Booth fled, but was later captured and killed. Lincoln died the next morning, becoming the first U.S. president to be assassinated. 3. James A. Garfield, 1881. Date: July 2, 1881. Location: Baltimore and Potomac Railroad Station, Washington, D.C. Assailant: Charles J. Guiteau, a disappointed office seeker. Details: Garfield was shot twice by Guiteau, who felt wronged by Garfield's administration. Garfield survived the initial shooting, but succumbed to infections 79 days later, partly due to unsanitary medical practices. 4. William McKinley, 1901. Date: September 6, 1901. Location: Pan American Exposition, Buffalo, New York. Assailant: Leon Czolgosz, an anarchist. Details: Czolgosz shot McKinley twice at close range. Despite initial signs of recovery, McKinley developed gangrene and died 8 days later. Czolgosz claimed he believed killing McKinley would help the working class. 5. Theodore Roosevelt, 1912. Date: October 14, 1912. Location: Milwaukee, Wisconsin, during his post-presidential campaign. Assailant: John Schrank, a mentally ill man who opposed Roosevelt's third-term candidacy. Details: Roosevelt was shot in the chest, but survived because the bullet was slowed by his thick speech manuscript and glasses case. Roosevelt went on to deliver his speech with the bullet lodged in his chest, saying, "It takes more than that to kill a bull moose." 6. Franklin D. Roosevelt, 1933. Date: February 15, 1933. Location: Miami, Florida. Assailant: Giuseppe Zangara, an unemployed bricklayer with a mental illness. Details: Zangara fired at Roosevelt but missed, injuring others and fatally wounding Chicago Mayor Anton Cermak. Zangara claimed he hated capitalists and rulers, but had no personal grudge against Roosevelt. 7. Harry S. Truman, 1950. Date: November 1st, 1950. Location: Blair House, Washington, D.C., temporary presidential residence. Assailants: Griselio Torresola and Oscar Collazo, Puerto Rican nationalists. Details: The 2 men sought Puerto Rican independence and attempted to kill Truman as part of a revolutionary act. Torresola was killed in a gunfight with Secret Service, and Collazo was apprehended. Truman, who was resting upstairs, was unharmed. 8. John F. Kennedy, 1963. Date: November 22, 1963. Location: Dallas, Texas. Assailant: Lee Harvey Oswald, a former Marine with pro-communist sympathies. Details: Kennedy was shot while riding in an open-top car. He suffered fatal wounds to the head and neck and was pronounced dead shortly after. Oswald was arrested, but was assassinated by nightclub owner Jack Ruby before he could stand trial. 9. Richard Nixon, 1974. Date: February 22, 1974. Location: Washington, D.C. Assailant: Samuel Bike, an unstable man with grievances against the government. Details: Bike planned to hijack a plane and crash it into the White House to kill Nixon. He stormed an airplane in Baltimore, killed a pilot, and took hostages, but was shot by police and committed suicide before takeoff. 10. Gerald Ford, 1975. Attempt 1. September 5, 1975 in Sacramento, California. O. Assailant: Lynette Squeaky. From: a follower of Charles Manson. O. Details: From pointed a gun at Ford, but was subdued before she could fire. She claimed her act was a protest against environmental policies. Attempt 2. September 22, 1975, in San Francisco, California. O. Assailant: Sarah Jane Moore, a radical activist. O. Details: Moore fired at Ford but missed. She was tackled by a bystander and later sentenced to life in prison. 11. Jimmy Carter, 1979. Date: May 5, 1979. Location: Los Angeles, California. Assailant: Raymond Lee Harvey and Osvaldo Espinoza Ortiz, two individuals involved in a bizarre plot. Details: Harvey claimed a plan to kill Carter with high-powered rifles. Both men were arrested but released due to lack of evidence. The plot remains murky. 12. Ronald Reagan, 1981. Date: March 30th, 1981. Location: Washington, D.C. Assailant: John Hinckley Jr., a mentally unstable man obsessed with actress Jodie Foster. Details: Hinckley shot Reagan, his press secretary, and two security officials. Reagan was struck in the lung but recovered. Hinckley was found not guilty by reason of insanity and was institutionalized for decades. 13. George H.W. Bush, 1993. Date: April 13, 1993. Location: Kuwait. Assailants: allegedly Iraqi intelligence agents. Details: Bush, who was no longer president, was the target of a car bomb plot during a visit to Kuwait. The plot was foiled by Kuwaiti security, and the bombers were arrested. U.S. officials believed Saddam Hussein was behind the attempt. 14. Bill Clinton, 1994-1996. Attempt 1. September 12, 1994. O. Location: White House. O. Assailant: Frank Eugene Corder, who flew a stolen plane into the White House lawn, intending to crash it into the building. Attempt 2. October 29, 1994. O. Location: White House. O. Assailant: Francisco Martin Duran, who fired at the White House with a rifle. O. Details: Duran fired 29 shots, but failed to hit anyone. Both attempts were unsuccessful, and Clinton was unharmed. 15. George W. Bush, 2005-2008. Attempt 1, May 10, 2005, in Tbilisi, Georgia. O. Assailant: Vladimir Arutyunian, who threw a live grenade toward Bush. It failed to detonate. Attempt 2, December 14, 2008, in Baghdad, Iraq. O. Assailant: Muntadar al-Zaidi, an Iraqi journalist who threw his shoes at Bush during a press conference. O. Details: Bush dodged the shoes and was unharmed. The act became a symbol of protest against the Iraq War. 16. Donald Trump, 2020. Date: September 2020. Location: White House. Assailant: ricin-laced letter sent by a woman, Pascal Ferrier. Details: Ferrier, a Canadian, sent a letter containing the deadly toxin ricin to Trump. The letter was intercepted, and Ferrier was arrested before Trump came into direct contact with it. 17. Joe Biden, 2023. Date: July 2023. Location: Provo, Utah. Assailant: Craig Robertson, a Utah man. Details: Robertson posted threats online about assassinating Biden. When FBI agents attempted to arrest him, he was killed in an altercation. These incidents reflect a range of motives, from political grievances to personal vendettas, mental illness, and ideological extremism. While a few attempts succeeded, advancements in presidential security have prevented many others.